Hey everybody, I'm Holly, aka the ScientoloGeek, and welcome to part 8 of the Oxford Capacity Analysis Analyzed series. Now, I know that my upload schedule with QAnut is not very consistent, and now I am going to be putting that channel on an indefinite hiatus. So, I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to it, when I'm going to get back to it, but I would like to take those 2 days that I have scheduled for the two channels and just put it all into Scientologeek. This is a subject I really want to dive into, and I think it would take. I feel like I wouldn't feel accomplished enough for the amount of material I would put out in a year. If I can put out a little bit more content just to help us get down that rabbit hole a little further, then I'm going to do it. So, today we are looking at Testing Promotion Revised, which is the HCO policy letter from the 24th of November, 1960. So let's just get into it.
Testing as a promotional activity has been resoundingly successful in Hazy SA. The following large 2-inch ad has been carried in newspapers. IQ tested. The Johannesburg Test Center offers for a limited time free intelligence and personality tests. Your IQ, personality, and aptitude determine your future. Know them. No obligations. 23 Hancock Street, Joubert Park, Johannesburg. Note, scientometric testing should probably be added in the USA.
Now, why they added it in the USA, I'm not sure, and not South Africa.
Within 30 days, this had increased numbers of new people coming in to 30 per day. The increase has been from 2 to 4 people each weekday. The success would be ruinous to a poorly oriented organization and almost was to Johannesburg. It has required my constant supervision and reorganizing to keep it going, so don't enter the project lightly.
Yeah, nowadays you guys are barely getting 2 to 4 people a day, depending on the org.
The bugs. The first bug developed was testing comm center. Its absence in the test room upset everything for a week. An in-out basket system was wholly inadequate. A basket system for tests in unmarked HGC, tests in unmarked academy, tests marked HGC, etc., plus a separate system for the test in charge person as a staff member solved this. The next and chief bug was the evaluation personnel. Test evaluation combined with sales fell behind an increasing 9 to 12 persons per day. This came about through test and evaluation being under PRR. They must not be. They must be under the HGC or less workably under PE. Body collision and crowding could have been serious if the test room and evaluation rooms had not been placed nearest the entrance to the org building. The final serious bug was PRR body registrar getting mixed into the system of test evaluation and doing some to the exclusion of new promotion. Since the test line is eventual processing and training and immediate small business, income of the org must have suffered while it was at a high wine of new people. Old lines must be guarded, strengthened, and maintained in spite of the new inflow if income is to stay up. Technical quality is good on processing and training in Johannesburg now. There could be a terrible bust if the quality of training and processing was low while volume of people was high. This could wreck an area. Therefore, to start a test program, it must be planned well. Technical must be brought high. Then the rooms, lines, and personnel planned, and finally, the ad placed and personnel put on post. Light early inflow gives ample time to break things in, providing the following mock-up is closely followed. Additional promotion to firms, societies, and our own public may not be needed for months if the ad is placed in a paper. Motif. Scientology testing is explained as follows. These are old tests reworked and modernized and coordinated with an electro-psychogalvanometer. The results are more accurate than psychological tests. This is scientometry. This is not psychology. These tests are more modern, being electronically coordinated. Psychology considers a person to be a materialistic biological brain. Scientology considers a person to be an electronic spiritual phenomenon.
Which again, you now have to prove. At least we can prove a brain exists.
The above explanation is for legal purposes. It's not for general release into the test line or in literature. But everyone connected with testing and evaluating must know the above thoroughly and glibly. We're not attacking psychology, but it may attack us. To the public, we're just a good test agency where it's free. Reception. The receptionist hands the incomer a card with space for name, address, and phone number and shows incomer the test room. In the reception room, there's a large sign listing services of the org. The test room. Virgin tests, personality and IQ only, no aptitude test is given, are placed in folders, one set per folder ready for issue. There are 3 piles: cream folders, red folders, green folders. Cream is for public, red for HGC, green for academy.
Apparently the red ones get rushed because it has to do with auditing process. Progress.
The incomer has received a test pass card from reception. He puts his name and address on the card's dotted lines and gives it to test in charge. Test in charge files it in his day basket. He takes down a cream folder, time date stamps its corner, leads incomer to a desk, and starts him. The time clock exists for each desk. The desk is numbered, the clock is numbered. This is started by test in charge. When test is complete, test in charge takes the whole folder and marks the evaluation appointment date on it, 2 or 3 days hence, every 15 minutes in sequence, and marks the same time on the incomer's card. This is the evaluation appointment. It can be adjusted if need be. If so, the admission cards are packed like playing cards in 15-minute sequence. The incomer also gets a slip saying the test is not complete. Electronic coordination remains to be done by evaluator. Please report to blank, etc. date time. The incomer is ushered out. The test folder is placed in test's unmarked basket. If incomer's out of town, so mark the folder and rush it for same-day evaluation to marking and evaluation. Out-of-towns are rare enough to admit special handling. HGC and Academy tests are rush-marked and their other handling is obvious. The incomer leaves the premises. This is not true for HGC and Academy, of course. Evaluation unit. As soon as a test is marked, it is sent to evaluation unless it's Academy or HGC, which go to their own destinations. The evaluator in another room, then test, keeps all unevaluated incomer folders. They are filed in view by alphabet. In the evaluator room is the evaluator and a PRR person. These are separate people. The hats must not be combined. Test in charge and any or all evaluators are HGC personnel. They must not be PRR personnel. This fundamental was not true at first in Johannesburg, with much upset and confusion resulting. The evaluator is not a registrar. The evaluator does not sell. The PRR person in the room may make appointments for the evaluator, may handle other sign-ups for PRR, but may not evaluate tests. They might not have to be a PRR person. It could be the PE registrar always on duty in the same room as evaluation. The evaluator, who preferably has a near but out-of-hearing set of chairs for waiting people, calls in the person whose turn it is according to appointment. This is usually 2 or 3 days, not more, after the incomer took a test which is now marked. Evaluation takes about 10 to 20 minutes. It is an exact script to which the factual data of the test is added. The evaluator introduces himself as a Scientologist, seats the incomer across the desk, opens the folder, and promptly puts the incomer on the e-meter. Evaluator briefly explains meter as a needful part of the test and rapidly, without discussion, fills out the meter case assessment form, getting definitions of the 5 buttons, writing them down and noting meter reaction in the box for it. The 5 buttons are change, problems, help, create, and responsibility. Evaluator takes incomer off meter without explanation and turns to graph.
So, imagine just being given the cans to hold and then being told what they're for. Just kind of them being shoved in your face. And now this one, they just take you off the meter without saying anything. It's just a little weird just imagining how that plays out in real life. If it's still played out this way. Like I said, I don't know how many of these policy letters and technical bulletins are outdated. And how many are ignored.
Evaluator now explains each point of the graph, but it is vital that at each low point, when explained, he adds Scientology can help that. This is said directly to make an impingement.
We already knew this.
The wording can be varied, but the sense must be the same. Do not precede the statement with "don't worry" or the like, as this cancels impingement. Graph done. Evaluator explains IQ. If low, he says Scientology training can raise that. He explains levels of IQ, tells person even if it's high, that IQ means little unless person knows something with it. Evaluator now takes up the meter case assessment sheet. Here he tells the PC's future. It's done by looking at PC's statements of his past and by rephrasing saying it's going to happen. Without Scientology, fates don't change much. Accidents, divorces, etc. happen again. This is all rapidly done, factually, expertly. See manuals for graph point meanings.
I'd be interested to know where those manuals are located.
The evaluator now leans back and says, "That's it. Incomer's hanging on ropes. If incomer says anything like, "What can I do about it?" Evaluator says, "That's very commendable. A good point in your favor, wanting to do something about it. I'm a technical person, not a sales personnel. Confidentially, though, I'll give you a tip. Don't spend money foolishly until you know what you're spending it for. Psychiatrists and so forth could cost you thousands. You buy anything they said because you know little about the mind. So why don't you just take an anatomy course and learn something about the mind? That's just a tip. It's cheap and you'll be wiser about what to do with yourself. The person over there is in the service department. Ask him." Evaluator gets up, ready to issue in a new person.
So now I'm looking at this. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you a tip that I give everybody in the org. Obviously, you don't like psychiatry. You'd buy anything they said because you know little about the mind, so why don't you take an anatomy course and learn something about the mind? It doesn't help when what you're learning is false. And you'll be wiser about what to do about yourself. The only solution will be to go through Scientology, because he wouldn't be able to do anything by himself without the church in this case. Like, this is the anatomy course, and learning something about the mind is just going to be your next step to buying your next service.
The PRR person may offer anything he pleases to the incomer, but the incomer should buy the anatomy course. The PRR person gets the contract signed for the anatomy course and the money for it right then, or at least some money, as it's only 12 guineas in Johannesburg. Don't put the person on PE. Offer but don't sell processing and training. Just get him on the anatomy course. That saves ARC breaks, leaves the incomer happy. The word of mouth generated by this routine will be excellent. Technical becomes a firm friend. People don't happily buy upper-level service even when they buy it blind. This also wipes out commercialism in the incomer's mind. The org must not be greedy for intensives and HPAs off the test line.
HPA, I'm not quite sure what that means.
The sales talk at this stage is to a Scientologically unoriented person, and when it fails, gives poor word of mouth in the public. Be happy to sell him the anatomy course. Don't mention the PE.
And nowadays, their stats are told to be so high that they're basically going to try to sell you on things now. This does not seem to follow based on statistics.
If the incomer walks out without buying, the PRR man, even if he's interviewing someone else, and even if the incomer has not approached him, rushes over and gives incomer a copy of The Problems of Work and Dianetics, The Evolution of a Science, and says, "Here are 2 books that might help you," and without waiting for an answer, goes back to his desk.
Yeah, they wouldn't give you those for free. Nowadays, they'd make you pay for them no matter what. I don't think they would nowadays rush you at the door.
The above routine is at this time a set fixed activity. As it works further, it may be improved. But putting evaluation and sales on the same person is ruinous because of excessive time consumption alone on the evaluation line. Further, it makes for future test incomers. Test filing. When issued, the folder of the test is date stamped. When marked, the marker writes M and his initial to the left of the date stamp. Upper right corner is proper for date stamp. When evaluated, the evaluator marks E and an initial below the date stamp. The evaluator sends the completed folder back to test files where it's filed under the PC's name, visible in the notch of the folder. Eventually, the test in charge will look in files to see if person has been tested before. If so, the new folder is placed in the old folder, and it's the old folder that's date stamped and initialed freshly, and all goes to the evaluator. Summary. This is the totality of the test evaluation unit of HGC and the test program. Add more in a large city and you'll drown. Leave test evaluation under PRR and you'll drown. Get more complicated and you'll drown. I know, I saw strong Scientologists scream as they went down for the 3rd time under the avalanche of confusion in bodies.
I don't think any Scientologists have suffered under a mass of new PCs. That's gotta be bullshit. But he's basically saying, do it my exact way.
PRR works for present time income hard and rightly. Test evaluation is future heavy income. That can be killed by bad 8C on these lines, so HCO and HGC get alert and accurate in getting this mock-up in, and hold it in place no matter how many wonderful new alter-isnesses get proposed. Every HGC auditor should be able to do the above evaluation patter well. Test evaluation is like a loaded gun. Don't play with it. Just do it as above and it'll hit the right target. And don't take the ad out of the paper because it's all too much until the town runs out of places to give anatomy courses in. You'll be tempted. L. Ron Hubbard.
I did want to look at the sentence and hold it in place no matter how many wonderful new alter-isnesses get proposed. So basically, do what I say no matter how many changes are proposed by other staff or public. My way is the best way because everything else will screw it all up. So we actually went through a full 5 pages on this policy letter, which means we're done covering it. I believe we only have one left, and that is called Warning on New PE. And it's literally only 2 pages, so I'll do that in the next OCA video. I just want to thank all you guys for watching. Like if you like the video, dislike if you don't. I don't really care. Comment with your feedback or questions, good, bad, or sideways. And subscribe to be kept up to date on future content. I will put the ScientoloGeek Discord link in the description. I'm not going to be putting in the Q&A stuff anymore for reasons I explained previously. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to all of you later. See ya.